My feet ached with a pain that I knew was but transitory, and would be nothing compared to what I would have to endure to set this world free from the darkness that now it shrouded from above to the very streets below. During my journey I was accompanied by my dead wife. I tried to ignore her, but she kept trailing me, kept saying things, but what I did not know, for I had long since put her out of my memory. And although once I had found love in her, I could no longer, for she was dead, and that which is dead should remain so, for otherwise man is confined to a world of total uncertainty of emotional feeling. The slow wind seemed to pick up the closer I got to what was my final destination. I could sense the presence of the dead peering from every corner. Every dark corner I perceived their shiny glowing eyes watching me. A thunderclap struck above me, and in front of me appeared a creature from the dead, a beast of the ancient ones might presume. It was dark black with a scaly skin, much like one might believe a dinosaur or a gigantic lizard might be like. With every footstep a loud crash followed. Dust from distant building would fall in its wake. It let out a roar that would even make the bones of the dead quake. And with that it began to charge like a steamroller. Dust covered its tracks as it plundered its way straight towards me. My heart began to race as I felt my body freeze, unable to move as this ancient beast roared ever nearer to me. Then, as with its coming, it was gone. I turned behind me, thinking it was there, but it was not. I realized that my senses were being tested, as that of a man's fear is his greatest enemy. If one can persuade that to be silent in all darkly matters, then one might be a victor. Otherwise man would become like jelly and be of no use to no one. I had to be as the former, and brave out what ethereal imagery was placed before my eyes. From whence I walked from this point onwards I cannot say, for its landscape was strange to me. It was not the London streets I had known as a boy. I can only assume the world I had known had been changed forever, as was changing before my eyes. Maybe like its inhabitants, it too was dying, and the soil I trod was that of a dead earth. Or possibly I had entered the lair of the black-hooded man, his world, that of the dead, a place which no mortal can return, a place of torture, of an evilness that would turn black even the whitest eyes, would burn the hearts and souls like charred coal. The ground was charred and hot to tread upon. The carcass of what looked like buildings burned in the distance. Those twinkling orange flames were all that lit up this dark world that I had entered. The image is unique, but so is that of feeling. And my body was being tortured by sensory means. It was foreboding, doom-laden, sinister, and menacing all at once. I walked towards what seemed a patch of ground not like any other, and felt a tingling sensation about my whole body. I saw images of death projected all around me. I could see the world being massacred by the very things I had set free upon the world. I saw women, men, children running and screaming in the hordes like cattle on the day of slaughter. Most of all I saw the fine liquid that spread through our arteries to within the minds and the walls of the hearts. Blood, that thick red wine, that when it spills a man does die. I saw it let loose, pouring through endless streets, leaving behind it piles of corpses. I removed myself from the spot. I turned to my wife with a tear in my eye, and went inside her arms to seek comfort, for I had no one else to turn to. What I had seen no man could ever witness. Even the most evilest of criminals that had walked the earth had never witnessed the scale of death I had just, as if I was dying 1,000,000 times and killing 1,000,000 times too. I had been inside. I had been killer and victim, experiencing fear and pain and pleasure all the same. I removed myself from my wife, now contained. I had no more tears to cry. and shouted out for the black-hooded man. "Where are you? Show yourself, so that this might end." As I called, from within the very earth I stood came creatures of the dead, scrabbling their way up to the surface, covered in dirt, blood, and the insects of the earth. I looked all around me. From every corner I was surrounded by these creatures, hissing and roaring. As if in inexplicable pain, I stood by the side of my wife. I took hold of her hand. Maybe I'd been wrong all along, that the black-hooded man was dead, and that I had been brought here by these creatures so they could wreak their revenge upon the very mortal that had slain their master. I turned to my wife one final time to say my goodbye and tell her that in heaven we would meet. As I had done that day, the light had turned out on our love the day she died. When I noticed from her hand water was dripping, and then I looked upon her body to her face and noticed she was dripping with water, she began to scream with pain that no death could produce without instant death. Then her body split open, and the water, blood, and guts shed to the ground, and left standing was the black-hooded man.